so that if it were still going on, I would again offer my knee for thousands of gallows birds and murderers to kiss. Margarita looked at Woland as if through a veil, her eyes filling with tears. True. You're perfectly right. Woland cried resoundingly and terribly. That's the way. That's the way. Woland's retinue repeated like an echo. We've been testing you, said Woland. Never ask for anything. Never for anything, and especially from those who are stronger than you. They'll make the offer themselves, and give everything themselves. Sit down, proud woman. Woland tore the heavy dressing gown from Margarita and again she found herself sitting next to him on the bed. And so, Margot, Woland went on, softening his voice, what do you want for having been my hostess tonight? What do you wish for having spent the ball naked? What price do you put on your knee? What are your losses from my guests, whom you just called gallows birds? Speak. And speak now without constraint, for it is I who offer. Margarita's heart began to pound, she sighed heavily, started pondering something. Well, come, be braver. Woland encouraged her. Rouse your fantasy, spur it on. Merely being present at the scene of the murder of that inveterate blackguard of a baron is worth a reward, particularly if the person is a woman. Well, then? Margarita's breath was taken away, and she was about to utter the cherished words prepared in her soul, when she suddenly turned pale, opened her mouth and stared. Frida! 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 Someone's importunate, imploring voice cried in her ears, my name is Frida. And Margarita, stumbling over the words, began to speak. So, that means I can ask for one thing? Demand, demand, my Donna, Woland replied, smiling knowingly, you may demand one thing. Ah, how adroitly and distinctly Woland, repeating Margarita's words, underscored that one thing. Margarita sighed again and said, I want them to stop giving Frida that handkerchief with which she smothered her baby. The cat raised his eyes to heaven and sighed noisily, but said nothing, perhaps remembering how his ear had already suffered. In view of the fact, said Woland, grinning, that the possibility of your having been bribed by that fool Frida is, of course, entirely excluded, being incompatible with your royal dignity, I simply don't know what to do. One thing remains, perhaps, to procure some rags and stuff them in all the cracks of my bedroom. What are you talking about, monsieur? Margarita was amazed, hearing these indeed incomprehensible words. I agree with you completely, monsieur, the cat mixed into the conversation, precisely with rags. And the cat vexedly struck the table with his paw. I am talking about mercy, Woland explained his words, not taking his fiery eye off Margarita. It sometimes creeps, quite unexpectedly and perfidiously, through the narrowest cracks. And so I am talking about rags. And I'm talking about the same thing. The cat exclaimed, and drew back from Margarita just in case, raising his paws to protect his sharp ears, covered with a pink cream. Get out, said Woland. I haven't had coffee yet, replied the cat, how can I leave? Can it be, monsieur, that on a festive night the guests are divided into two sorts? One of the first, and the other, as that sad skinflint of a barman put it, of second freshness? Quiet, ordered Woland, and, turning to Margarita, he asked, you are, by all tokens, a person of exceptional kindness? A highly moral person? No, Margarita replied emphatically, I know that one can only speak frankly with you, and so I will tell you frankly, I am a light-minded person. I asked you for Frida only because I was careless enough to give her firm hope. She's waiting, monsieur, she believes in my power. And if she's left disappointed, I'll be in a terrible position. I'll have no peace in my life. There's no help for it, it just happened. Ah, said Woland, that's understandable. Will you do it? Margarita asked quietly. By no means, answered Woland. The thing is, dear Queen, that a little confusion has taken place here. Each department must look after its own affairs. I don't deny our possibilities are rather great, they're much greater than some not very keen people may think. Yes, a whole lot greater, the cat, obviously proud of these possibilities, put in, unable to restrain himself. Quiet, devil take you, Woland said to him, and went on addressing Margarita, but there is simply no sense in doing what ought to be done by another, as I just put it, department. And so, I will not do it, but you will do it yourself. And will it be done at my word? Azazello gave Margarita an ironic look out of the corner of his blind eye, shook his red head imperceptibly, and snorted. Just do it, what a pain. Woland muttered and, turning the globe, began peering into some detail on it, evidently also occupied with something else during his conversation with Margarita. So, Frida prompted Koroviev. Frida! Margarita cried piercingly. The door flew open and a disheveled, naked woman, now showing no signs of drunkenness, ran into the room with frenzied eyes and stretched her arms out to Margarita, who said majestically, "You are forgiven."